over the past several years. I think at the end of the day, though, like our community is rooted in our people. We know that there isn't going to be a politician out there who is coming to save us on either side of the aisle. That's not what we've ever been about. And that's why we've been so focused on building independent power that is really rooted in working class communities, rooted in the issues that young people care about. We've heard it time and time again from our communities. Young people care about the issues. We are facing crisis after crisis as a generation. And so for us, it's not about the candidates. It's about, are you really connecting with the issues that matter to young people?
Absolutely. Some of the questions I have are, what happens next? So the Trump administration has obviously made it a signature part of its legislative agenda that they're going to engage in something that is so unimaginably cruel that I feel like, I've called the policy Hitlerian because I think it is. He has routinely claimed that there are 20 million undocumented migrants, a number that nobody really knows where he got from. I think the original, the actual latest estimation is around 13 to 15 million. And he has said that he is going to engage in mass deportations for all 20 million undocumented migrants living on U.S. soil. This means that 1 in 15 families that live in a mixed status household is probably going to have their immediate relatives forcibly removed from American society and placed in a concentration camp slated for deportation. This policy not only is uniquely cruel, but it's also obviously going to cripple the economy, considering that undocumented migrants contribute greatly both to our agricultural output, but also our construction industry as well, among many other sectors. But of course, the most significant part about this, I think, is the inhumanity of this policy. Hey, Rashida, you're here. Rashida Tlaib, thank you so much for coming on. I'm a massive fan of yours. I've been a big supporter for quite some time. I've been meaning to have you on the stream for quite a while, so I'm very fortunate that you are gracing our presence here on this broadcast. We are all big time supporters of you, and I'm very grateful, very thankful that you guys were able to put this together so we could talk about issues that matter to everyone in this community.
No, just thank my son. Adam's a huge fan of yours, so he's like, "No, mom, do it. It's awesome."
Oh, hell
so,
yeah!
Yeah.
You got a good son.
He's a chatter, so he loves your show. So that you can give my.
He's got a good head on his shoulders if he's a fan.
Yeah, he's got a lot of strong opinions like you, so that's good.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, strong opinions are needed. So I guess the question is, what can Congress do? Or are there any plans of action in order to protect undocumented migrants and migrants across the board in the United States of America? And what are some of the perceived threats that the Trump administration has signaled thus far in terms of how they are going to tackle this, what I call non-issue that they consider to be a major issue?
Did you want me to go for it?
Yes, please, Congressman.
So one of the things to know is, of course, you hear the term mass deportation. Just know this, under, previous administration, when he was there, he was separating families. You saw the increase actually of private detention centers grow. You can hear sometimes, as a former immigration attorney, we always hear, well, how many number of beds are they increasing in these detention centers? That's always a clue whether or not, again, Democrats and Republicans both alike have done this, Hassan, so it's not just one party or the other. But one of the cruelest things that I think the incoming president did under his administration, under the same names that you hear, Stephen Miller, Homan, all these folks who, even Homan came before our committee and testified, is this idea, let's just take their kids and put them somewhere else when they come across, so then they will never come back. Like, it was awful, because even some of the children were sent from the border to Michigan, and some of which to this day have not been able to reunite with their parents. I just can't imagine. Now they're in foster system. It's just so cruel and inhumane. The other important thing that you should know too is, so there's a whole process right now. Again, applying to asylum is very much legal, and there's folks that want to undercut it. Even some of my colleagues in my own caucus have been talking about this, right? But at the same time, and United We Dream will tell you this. Look, many of my neighbors have been here for decades. Some of them went to high school with me, and they haven't been able to adjust their status here. I have so many of my neighbors are actually married to U.S. citizens and can't fix their papers here. No one is talking about the decades and decades of our broken and inhumane system that is leaving so many of my neighbors who work, pay taxes, their kids are going to school with our kids. We're not talking about them. They're so laser focused on the so-called border, not realizing right now there are U.S. citizen families, American, that are literally being separated and torn apart because of our broken immigration system. Or my neighbors, where I grew up in Southwest Detroit, 20 different ethnicities, Hassan. I kid you not. I remember under Obama, I came in, I was a state house member, and I was sitting in the main office of one of my schools, and I was just finishing reading to third graders. And I remember this little girl just crying in the office, and I was like, what's wrong? And then she said she went home and her parents were gone. And the neighbor said it's because ICE picked them up. So this idea that something new about removing, again, undocumented parents away from children, American children, that's been happening under previous administrations in the past. And so United We Dream they'll tell you personally, they're experiencing it personally. They are made up of folks that are dreamers, but folks that went to high school with us, are born, pretty much raised here as little young kids that literally have no pathway. But there is the cruelness of it is what I think many of my neighbors in the 12th district in Michigan are really, really fearful of how cruel it's going to be.
Yeah. One thing to note on the bipartisanship of this issue, or at least like the fact that the Democratic Party has contributed to this, is obviously Thomas Homan, who was appointed to the position under the Obama administration, and Obama even gave him a medal. This is something that a lot of people don't understand and don't realize. But as a congressperson, Rashida, would you say that some of this attitude has actually swung in the Democratic Party in recent years, as opposed to in the past, there was more of a push and pull, like I like to call it, Obama would do deportations, but they were border apprehensions. They were still cruel and they were still inhumane.
Let me tell you, under Obama, I remember, and again, this is just to show that this is very much an American issue, no matter who's in power, and how we've just, what is that term? I'm a child of immigrants, so I always get you kick the bucket down the road. This idea around it's their fault. It's their fault. Yeah, it really has been something that I can't believe under every single, I don't care if there's a D or R next to their name, seems to me that they don't really care about fixing the actual immigration system. It's people even that are legally coming in, so-called legally, with process visas, that are also experiencing the same brokenness and humaneness that we see. But Hassan, I remember, me and Obama administration head to head, I remember I was pregnant with my second kid. I was like wobbling around telling him, you are not allowed under federal policy to do any ICE actions near schools. And they did it. And the next day, all the parents, all the school kids didn't show up to school the next day. They're not even allowed to do these kinds of so-called operations and coming into schools and doing these like raids and things like that. Again, that was right in front of two schools in my district at the time. It was horrifying. It was traumatic for the community. No matter what your status was, to watch that happen in front of kids was awful. And I had to go head to head with, a Democratic-led, immigration system being led by the Democrats. And again, know this later on, of course, because even the Dreamers were in the streets demanding action. Remember this.
Yeah.
They were vilified for it, Hassan. I remember they were like, oh my God, leave him, you're making him look bad. No, it was their duty and responsibility to move a president that promised that he would do something about this. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think we would have gotten DACA. If it wasn't for them, again, demanding it in the streets, I don't think we would have gotten DACA. But I want them to talk more about, again, what they're doing. I love the fact that they didn't wait to see who got elected. This group, United We Dream, created this situation room and created this action knowing that no matter who is president, that something was going to, awful come their way. Because again, fear mongering from both sides, both parties was pretty evident.
Yeah, the congressman was really hyping us up, so I love it. But yeah, we've been organizing around the clock. We know that our work does not end or begin on election day. It doesn't end with getting voters to the polls on November 5th. It is a year-round job. And I think the thing is the terrain we're facing right now with Trump's re-election, it is very real. And I think people sometimes don't believe that these things could happen, like mass deportations or raids. It's already happened. It happened under his first administration. It happened under administrations before Trump. And so it's going to happen again, and it's going to expand. And I think it's very, very real what the Congresswoman is saying in terms of we're going to see agents being deployed into our communities, into our neighborhoods, at schools, at churches, at masjids, at hospitals. We're already seeing that in Texas, right? Texas just passed, right, a law that was signed by Governor Abbott that allows hospitals, right? They're now like required to ask patients their immigration status. It's all a tactic of fear. That's what it is. And so I think the end of the day, though, there is so much that we can still do to make sure that Trump's plans are not successful. We can still make sure that these spaces are safe spots for our immigrant neighbors.
Yeah.
If I can jump in real quickly, I think like it's important to like also like starts from the basics, because there's a lot of people out there that have absolutely no idea what Trump's anti-immigrant agenda actually looks like, right? Like I talk to a lot of people in our community, they have no clue. I think like the first thing that we have to mention is that if you actually go ahead and